Presidentish Joe Biden shuffled off the stage over 3 weeks ago, but his legacy, unfortunately, is not forgotten, unlike what he had for breakfast this morning. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. And gentlemen, oi, we got a whopper of bad news yesterday, and I got to apologize up front because I swear every time I talk about overspending and over borrowing and over regulation, I swear I lose readers at PJ Media, and I don't want to drive anybody away here, but there's stuff we've got to talk about. So I put these numbers together in a bright, shiny package that you can share with others to let them know how big a hole the Biden cabal dug for us. Geiger Capital warned on X on Monday, the train is out of control. The first 4 months of fiscal year 2025, that's the last 4 months of the Biden administration, produced a deficit of $838 billion. That's $306 billion more than the deficit recorded in the same period the previous year. And we are running, they said, on track for a $2.5 trillion annual deficit this year. But believe it or not, even all that, with all that stimulus, inflationary, whatever, bad debt spending, tax revenues increased by less than 1%. So we're essentially transferring flesh blood into a corpse, and that corpse is the economy that Biden murdered with overregulation. So let me just tell you a couple more things before we get to, I think we're going to start with Bill here. The economy's official growth rate last year was 2.8%. That's an extra $800 billion or so in a $29 trillion economy. But the deficit, that's the money we just printed up out of nowhere, the funny money, was $1.8 trillion. What that means is that the growth was an illusion. It's Washington's accounting gimmick financed by our grandkids and our great-grandkids. So let me put this in people terms. Let's say you made $100,000 last year, but you borrowed $10,000 from the bank. You took the $10,000 to Vegas, blew the whole loan, and then you told your wife you made $110,000 last year. This does not work. Bill,
kind of funny.
Except it makes me want to cry and laugh. Bill, you know that scene in Serenity when the operative tells Mal it's worse than you know, and Mal says it usually is? Mm-hmm. That's where we are right now, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we have to prepare ourselves for, because we're all just giddy with success and winning here, is that a lot of the economic changes are going to take a while. The progressives have been crowing loud that the price of eggs hasn't gone down in the entire 3 weeks that Donald Trump has been president, pushing 4 weeks now. That the prices haven't miraculously fallen. And Trump said things may get worse before they get better. We remember when Reagan came to office, he had his first year or two had to basically deal with the momentum of the catastrophic course, right? Yeah. You've got a ship of state that weighs 100 billion tons, and it's moving at 30 knots in one direction. You can put hard left rudder into that thing, but it's not going to do a U-turn there. It's going to take miles and miles and miles. So, on one hand, I think we need to be prepared to hear a lot of moaning from the usual characters about how things haven't changed overnight because, as you say, things are much worse. He inherited a much worse situation. On the flip side of this, we were talking about this on our members only backstage show. The website, the National Debt Clock, which is just a constantly updated total of how much we're spending, how much we've spent this year, what is the national debt, what is the total debt, what's the deficit, all of this stuff, has now got a new box called the Doge Clock, and the Doge Clock has returned like $80 billion. It hasn't returned it. It's found it in waste, right? Now, I'm not saying that Doge is going to be able to replace the deficit, but what I am saying is the amount of money that Doge has saved from USAID and the fact that they could fire 99% of the staff from 14,000 down to 300 something, right, is an indication that two things to be said about this. First of all, USAID is not a major department of the United States as far as budget goes. So they've been able to find $80 billion of waste in what is essentially a backwater. Second point is USAID is one out of, nobody can actually even agree on the number, but it's 400 plus federal agencies. Some say 430, some 418, something like that. We don't even know how many agencies we have, let alone how much money we spend on them. But my point is that once this Doge phenomenon starts to head into things like Department of Defense and Social Security, now you're not talking about, oh, hey, we found $1 billion here or $2 billion there. Now we're talking about, as you pointed out on our backstage show, Steve, Elon Musk thinks that, and he appears to be pretty close to being on track for saving $1 trillion, which is the deficit, right? I mean, it's more than the deficit. You said we're on track for...
We're on track for a $2.5 trillion deficit.
Okay, I thought you said 800.
There's still a ways to go, yeah.
What was the 830 number? Was that
That's the growth we got last year, but it was all financed by funny money.
Okay, so yes, we're going to have the Biden legacy of inflation and deficit spending with us, and there's no getting around that. But I don't think there's a conservative out there who hasn't been just absolutely stunned by the just this first dip of a toe in the water. And I think the long-term prognosis, therefore, looks actually better than it may have at any point since FDR, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Now let me talk about the jobs things. I think we all know that there was a lot of funny business going on with the jobs numbers. Getting back to you remember last quarter when the Bureau of Made-Up Labor Statistics, as I like to call it now, they just vanished over 800,000 jobs that they'd given Biden credit for creating in the previous 12 months, but they never existed. There's more. In the last quarter of this last year, the Biden administration, another 589,000 jobs have been revised into oblivion. But get this, of the jobs that were created, 70% of those were government jobs. In other words, jobs that don't produce anything, jobs that the rest of us have to pay for. And of the private sector jobs that were created, 99.2% of those went to foreign-born workers. I was shocked when I saw that number, but it apparently it's backed up. Now, Scott, hardly any private sector jobs were created in the last quarter, and only 8 out of 1,000 went to American citizens. So let me ask you, under Biden, whose country was this anyway?
I think the most healthy thing about what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing is just simply opening up the books and showing us what's going on. Yeah. And I think you'll see all kinds of headlines from both sides of people making outlandish claims of things that just aren't true. So try to temper your acceptance of any specific thing you hear until you do your own research. But I think what struck me in most of these reports is the sheer number of people that our government is employing to do things I didn't even know we were doing. I mean, it's just unbelievable. When they give me the departmental head count numbers, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What did you say? There was 100 people doing that? No. There was 10,000 people. It's like these ridiculously large numbers of people working for these departments, which if you asked most Americans, by the way, what can you tell me about this department? They would be able to tell you very little, if anything at all. And so I think it's really healthy that we get those out there. And I'm wondering why we haven't done that in the past and just basically said, by the way, here we have the U.S. Agency for International Development. It employs X number of people. Here's how much money they spend. Here's what they do. Like that, somebody needs to break that down in a way that is entertaining enough for people to want to watch it. So that's one thing that I think is really healthy. The other thing is I wouldn't get too focused on the top line. And I know Elon Musk is trying to use this indicator of like dollars per day saved, essentially. But every dollar that they manage to save, it really represents something else. It's just a representation of the diminishment of the role of government in our lives. It's a representation of the realignment of the federal government into more constitutional terms. It's a representation of returning power to the individuals and to the states in ways that will result overall in better solutions because they are crafted for the people who have to participate in those solutions. They're not done by this remote control government in Washington, by people who don't even have to live under the laws that they create. And so it's you need to talk about the numbers. You need to see the $83 billion in savings or whatever it is at the current moment. But we can't take our eye off the bigger goal of, as Bill likes to say, putting the federal government back into the constitutional box in which it was delivered to us, and returning the power to the individual people in this country, which has always been what has made the United States great.
Can I add one thing to that, Steve? Because when Scott was talking about what do these people do, just taking USAID as an example, Archimedes, I think it was Archimedes who said, "Give me a large enough lever and I can move the world."
It was.
So 14,000 people were fired. And in order to fire 14,000 people, how big is Musk's team? Is it 4 guys, 5?
It's a small team, yeah.
It's like 5-6 guys, right?
Yeah.
Plus Elon.
Super data nerds. They're great.
So say go crazy and say that 8 people who were highly competent, who really knew what they were doing, eight of the most hardworking and intelligent people in the country were able to dislodge 14,000 people whose jobs apparently were not important enough to save. You want to talk about a lever. That's a fairly remarkable achievement, if you think. It's not like DOJ consists of 20,000 auditors, right? That's my point.
Well,
yeah, it's data guys who went in.
Give me a lever and a place to stand. And
a place to stand.
And I think we need to anchor that place to stand in something that's more than just these ephemeral numbers that people can't really grasp. It's that where I think we need to nail down the moral significance of these actions, not just the fiscal ones.
Yeah, that's right.
That's exactly right. Thank you for that. So here's what was supposed to happen. The reason the deficit is still exploding, even after Biden's out of office, is that his big spending bills that he got passed under the Democratic Congress in his first 2 years in office, a lot of that spending was backloaded into his second term, or what was supposed to be his second term. So what was supposed to happen is that his reelection was going to be guaranteed by phony jobs numbers and oodles of debt, dressed up like a drag queen named Robusty Growth. But it didn't happen. It didn't work. We got Trump in office instead. That's the good news. The bad news is we got a lot of work ahead of us. Congress is going to be the real test, because DOJ can make recommendations. They can get a lot of people fired. But the real test is going to come in Congress. And I just saw a story, I think it was in The Hill on Monday, that there is a group of moderate, squishy Republican senators who are apparently scared to death that Elon Musk is going to finance them getting primaried in a couple of years if they don't toe the line on these spending cuts. So we got a lot of good news here, but it also means we got a lot of work to do. So, all right, that's it. Turn off YouTube. Let's get to work. That's your right angle on that. Brought to you by members at BillWhittle.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.